shame, guilt, fear, anger, right? And then when she passed away, that sadness together with the guilt and having my daughter, I noticed later when I knew more, when I was able to connect, when I learned that pain, I can transform it by learning my sister's beauty.
Welcome to the Grieve with Christa podcast. My guest today is Liz. Liz lost her sister, Maileen, when she was 27 years old. But it wasn't until years later that she realized how deeply the loss had shaped her life. She carried loneliness, anger, sadness, and a disconnect from the people she loved most. She found herself unable to fully give and receive love in ways she wanted to. Then, in 2014, after being diagnosed with breast cancer, everything came to a head. She chose to face her grief head on. Through that journey, Liz rebuilt her relationship with her sister's memory, found healing in relationships, and slowly began to experience freedom from the loneliness she had carried for so long. So I'm getting back to my memory. I don't always, when I sit down, I like to just be in the moment here. But I know that the biggest, after we talked, the big thing, what hit me really hard was that you said that grief happened to you, and especially as women, but grief happened to you 20, 30 years ago, and you lived with it, and you didn't realize how it affected your everyday life. And when you said that, it was just a big spark, because when I was 16, right, that was the first time I experienced physical death when I was in school to be a CNA. The patient was dead. I went home. My mother said, get over it. And that's what we were told from 16, when one grandparent died at 16, then 17, then 19, and every death from under 20, I was told to just get over it. And we don't realize that when we have a death at that age, right, at young, we don't realize how it affects our whole life. And then which I'll have you, talk so much more about. But when you said something you said something that hit, and I was a single mom my whole life, and I always felt like I was going like this, go, 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 rush, rush. And you said something that sparked, and how we are all we're in a grief mode, I think, and we don't even realize it. That's how we're living.
It becomes your lifestyle unconsciously, because remember what you learned at 16, which already your brain was not fully developed. Okay, so you learn, hurry up, get over it. So you enter through pain, your life, but with no connection with everything that you did. And I believe also with my journey that I belong to a ripple world. So what it means is whatever I do has consequences, not only for me, but for the people around me, right? And that's what I really pleased and grateful that GLAD exists right now, because I believe that as we become aware that it's not like get over it, or, people will tell me, it's okay, honey, right? It's okay, honey. You're going to be okay. Well, at that moment, we may not need that. And we appreciate it, but we may not need that. So glad this platform is going to embrace us in a way where we are going to kind of practice mindfulness. What is it that she needs? And if I don't have to say anything, being there is maybe what we need the most, So definitely, I believe that in a ripple world, I became more aware after I experienced the damages. See, I experienced the damages, the consequences of being, like you said, working. I remember my sister passed away 6 months after I had my first child. But she was in Venezuela. I was in Greensboro. See, so I was already feeling pain through my pregnancy in those first 2 years that Maileen, my first daughter, was with me. I was not connected. See, I was the mama. Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask that. I do want to ask that, Liz, because it's a big thing that we're not connected. So me and you, I think we're both past 40, right? So when I experienced a lot of death before the age of 20, And you don't realize, and now after 40 experiencing it, it's different. And when you say connected, what is that, maybe for the younger generation that is going through loss, what does that look like to be connected, to not be connected? How would we know if we're not connected?
Well, because we do things with no intention. We are there because we have to. You see the difference between I have to be there. I have to change her. I have to do this. That's not intention. That's not connecting from love. That's doing. But if I have the intention, it will be a different feeling. You see?
Okay. No, I love that. Okay. So how old were you when your sister died?
I was 26, 27, going to 27.
Okay. So that was many years ago.
Yes, but remember, the brain will fully develop in a woman at age 25. And keep in mind that I was even grieving before that, because you mentioned also something that took my attention. I left my country, for a new opportunity. I left my sister, which for me, my sister was my mother, meaning the mother of a mother that I received was from my sister. She was older, 1 year. But she took that risk. I don't know, I guess people in her case, because we were 5, and she was the one that will defend us from mama. That physical abuse, that verbal abuse. My sister, she took that as, no, hold on. That's not how you feel. And this is how it is. So we felt protected and safe, which are the needs of a child. They need to be protected and loved.
Yeah.
Who did it? My sister. So can you imagine leaving her? Then years here trying to cope with the language, with the culture, with everything. That's also different emotions that I was feeling. Shame, guilt, fear, anger, right? And then when she passed away, that sadness together with the guilt and having my daughter, I noticed later when I knew more, when I was able to connect, when I learned that pain, I can transform it by learning my sister's beauty in my life.
Okay. All right. So this is good. So when you were 27, she passed away. And then throughout those years till now, when did you realize that you lived your life disconnected, feeling that we had to do this? And a lot of people just feel like that they're in a fight or flight and that they can't just calm down. When did you realize that this affected your whole life?
12 years ago.
After more than 25 years as a hospice nurse, I've had the privilege of walking with people and families through some of life's most sacred final moments. My book, 8 Lessons the Dying Has Taught Me, shares what those moments taught me about grief, love, forgiveness, presence, and what really matters while we're still here. If you've lost someone close to you, or you're learning how to carry grief with hope, I wrote this book for you. And the best part is, all the proceeds from the book go directly to GLAAD, helping us continue to support people through grief and loss. The 8 Lessons the Dying Taught Me, available now. So early on in your at 27, what did that grief feel like to you at that age?
Loneliness. I felt lonely. I felt that I be sad, and a little bit shame and guilt, and a little bit angry because I was not there. When you try to negotiate if I was there, what happened if that in the mind, that you think about, what if I was there, maybe she will be alive. Try to negotiate in my mind. I have a lot of guilt and anger because that was how I felt it at that moment. Yeah.
How long would you say that those feelings stayed with you for at 27?
I remember when my daughter was 2 years old. I started the journey in embracing my daughter in a different way, with no pain. But it wasn't until 10 years ago, to be honest with you, that I understood that, like I mentioned, that I'm seeing the beauty of my sister in my life 10 years ago through learning from all the consequences of living all that life angry, disconnected, doing things because I have to do it. So what came from there? A divorce. Yeah. Like I said, a ripple in my world, the ripple effects, right, of how I was feeling. My daughter, then I have my son, a different dynamic, and I was working. So I raised my daughter differently from my boy. You see? So 10 years ago, I said, Liz, it cannot be this anymore because it's now affecting your health. Because end up with the cancer, the sadness, keeping it inside of me, having the fear, or if I say this to someone, I don't want to hear, it's okay, honey, you're going to be okay. I didn't want to hear that for a very long time. So what I did is I stayed quiet, leaving all of this about anger and a lot of guilt inside of me. Ended up with consequences that I needed to wake up. I needed to wake up and say, hold on just a minute. This is what is being created outside your world. This is what is affecting not only you, but everybody else around you. So 10 years ago was my wake-up call, to be honest with you.
Think that it was grief, though? Was it a wake-up call like you haven't dealt with your grief from when your sister died at 27? Did you think that? Was that something that came to your mind?
Yes, I thought about, because it's always that line or that thought. Well, I can know I'm really attached to her, that if I know being me, the guilt, what is going to happen with her memory? No, I it's like I have a conversation with her, with her, and I say, hermana, sister, you're with me, and I'm going to learn to see your beauty, everything that you planted in me, in everything I do, everything. I want you to be proud of me. And for that, I needed to be somebody else, the real Liz Nergin, the one that it can connect, the one that can be happy genuinely, okay, without, genuinely, the one that can share her story with no hesitation. But yeah, definitely all of that is a grieving process. Definitely.
We don't realize it, because even at 16, even in my 20s, we don't realize that we're grieving, and we don't understand it. So going back, at 27, what would you tell somebody? Because this is a big message for the world, because when we're young, we don't think. We just get, as we get older, we start to realize and process things differently. So somebody that's 27 that maybe has had a significant death in their life and they feel disconnected, what would you tell that 20-year-old?
To be honest with you, I'm going back in their memory. And what I needed at that moment is, I'm here. I'm here.
And that's all you wanted somebody to say to you at that moment.
Exactly. Because hearing, it's okay, honey, I understand how you feel. It's going to be okay. Maybe that's not what I wanted it to hear at that moment. Yeah. I wanted maybe feeling probably I'm going there right now, feeling my pain. But when I look, there is someone there. That is there. And the support is, even though that person doesn't have to say anything. Not really. We feel, the need to say, but we don't have to say it. But knowing that somebody's there, just there, for that 3 months or that moment, it's going to change a little bit in me the fact that not only my pain is shared, but now let me talk about it. Let me talk to her. Or let me talk to him. But for me in that moment, it's just, I'm here. I'm here with you. I'm here. Yeah. I'm here for you and with you. Yes.
Because death is inevitable. It's the only thing in life guaranteed, which I tell everybody. It is. It's when it happens to people younger, though, the message is that it affects our whole life and that we don't realize it. And that's the big thing here. That's the bigger message, that we're running on autopilot, sometimes in a fight or flight stage. We're not connected to ourselves. And then we wonder, a lot of times those are the people that are like, I hate my life. And I don't think that's not what we're supposed to be here for, to say, I hate my life. We're supposed to find the beauty and the joyful things in life. But it is hard when it is younger. And then a lot of times people don't recognize that they're disconnected. And that's the message, that if you do have a significant loss, especially when you're younger, we can't just get over it. We have to recognize, okay, this is a problem. Let me call. Let me get out there. Let me do something. And then you had a bigger message too of that, especially for mothers or fathers, but it transfers to our children. We don't realize that it affects every relationship in our life with our children. And I was guilty. I did EMS for a long time. So in my early 20s, I had PTSD from all of the deaths. I didn't know how to process it. So my life, I always was like, my kid's going to die. Like, I just walked around with this anxiety that wasn't necessary because I'm not in control, right? But I was always like, somebody's going to die. And that's what a lot of people think when you have a loss early on. And they just have this anxiety of death. And then people don't really live. Now, how has it affected your health in this journey? You said that it's affected your health, that you didn't realize.
Yes. One thing that you mentioned, and I wanna, with consciousness, I wanna say something. The younger, for example, my sister was the one that gave me what I needed. When I knew that she was no longer physically there available for me, that's something that we have to also realize, that the attachment to that is also making us to withdraw, like the sadness. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do this now? And that's with me, she was my one person to go. If I have an issue, if I have a challenge here in the United States, I will call my sister through WhatsApp, and I talk to her hours, and she will remind me about my strength. I remember I wanted to go back to my country the third day that I came here, because I suffered bullying, I suffered, all of that discrimination, very, very tough. And I remember in the car talking to her, she said, remember who you are. Because she knew me, that was the person that took the time to knew me, she saw me, so what happened with me was, now she's still here. Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? Right? So the fear allow us to close down and be angry and disappointed and sad. Well, kept myself there for a long time. And I have to say, not only in the relationships, because my kids, they needed me. They needed not a mother that will fix the breakfast or take them to school. They needed that love, caring, playful, smiling, happy mama that I couldn't be back then. I'm now, but I couldn't be that. So with that suffering, with years, 2014, I was diagnosed with my first cancer, breast cancer on the right side. And that to me, I never had, not even a flu, nothing. Even in North Carolina with the weather, never. And when I went to my yearly, checkup and mammogram first time, well, that broke me. Because I never expected. I always felt proud of my health, always. But when that was my reality in that moment, I understood that I needed to turn my life around, because then I became aware. Then I became that resonant mind. Say, well, look, you have 2 kids. They're young. You're young too. How you're going to live your life from now on. So that was my first 2014. That first experience that allowed me to kind of shift my mindset.
Yeah.
And start engaging in accepting that that this pain is with me, but it's not my enemy. That I have the power to transform this into something even bigger than what I thought it was.
That.
Yeah. So that's what and believe me, today, I'm really grateful that you exist, glad. Because even if we are suffering, even if we want to be on our own, if we keep promoting the mission, people are going to start looking up. Because when they realize the ripple effect in my sadness, with me, with my health, with my family, and the consequences that I will be facing later on, I believe through the mission, people will say, wait a minute, I can transform this to something bigger. And I love that. I love the mission, and I love, and I'm grateful that Glad is here with us today. Yes.
I'm grateful for that. No, thank you and I'm grateful to have you, because I didn't let everybody know, though, that you are one of the grief coaches. Spanish speaking community. You're a grief coach, and you do the sibling class, English. We'll have one in Spanish soon, but we needed one in English. But I'm beyond grateful to have, and a lot of the grief coaches I've had on the podcast, but all of you have such real significant stories and messages, and your message was strong and powerful, probably because it's a lot of women. I'm not leaving out the men. It might be men too, but a lot of us women, we just push it down, we keep going, and we don't understand how it affects our families, our children. And yes, somebody died, but it is a part of life. It's the only thing guaranteed. So that's why GLAD exists, so that we can talk about this. And everybody wants a guarantee. They go to Tony Robbins. Here's a guarantee, you're going to die. So let's talk about it. Let's celebrate the person. Yes, we die, but the physical, we don't lose the connection. A lot of times in the beginning, when somebody dies, people get angry. They get really angry. They shut down. And I did too. I was guilty myself, with my stepdad. And you don't have any connection. You're just in this world of anger, and you can't figure it out. But once you really talk about it, you deal with the grief, you have different connections that start to come in, right? You see the messages, you see the UPS trucks, the flowers, the birds. You see these messages that become comforting. No, we'll never get that physical person back, but they're signs, they're messages. From when I was a teenager, that all my patients and families has told me that we get these signs, but we don't want to block them, and that's what happens. We block them. Wouldn't you agree, like in the beginning?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That lack of connection through sadness, I'm not, it's like, I told myself, you don't have the right to feel. You don't have the right to admire something beautiful and smile. No. I learned with everything that she taught me when she was alive. And I said, well, what was her intention? This is me doing my work internally. What was really her intention? If she was kind to me. So this is what my decision was, for me to feel free of that pain and embrace her beauty. If she taught me kindness, every time I'm kind, it's there. So I embrace it. Every time I'm responsible or achieve something that people told me it's impossible for you to achieve it, because she told me, remember who you are. I embrace her beauty, because I say, wow, I'm practicing. My being is actually the result of those seeds that she planted when I was 4, when I was 5, when I was 6. And then when I have a class that when I practice that and the participants receive it and they embrace their, beauty, I say, man, this is worth to try. But it took me a long time, almost maybe 17, 18 years to realize that. So that's what I'm saying. We creating consciousness right now, so people can, in the early experience of pain, can kind of learn, accept, and grow, is going to contribute to themselves and to their families.
I got chills. No, I got chills. My sister's a beautiful person, and that's what the world needs more of. because what I've done, it's not, you know, I was chosen for this job at 16 to help all these people die, and I'm beyond grateful. But people don't realize that I've helped so many people die. And when you're about to die, your gifts come through, right? You're not nasty, you're not angry. It's like all your ego is just, it's gone. And you're just left with, oh my God, you know. So I've just, all the patients and families, I've just seen nothing but beautiful gifts in them when they're about to die. And the truth is all those gifts are in you now, that when you're not dying. And that's what the world needs more of, needs more of support, needs more of love, because when you die, you don't take your things, your money with you. I tell people, write your eulogy. If you were going to die tomorrow, what do you want people to say about you? Were you a nice person? Did you help people? Were you just a Costco member? Right? Did you just care about yourself? Because the truth is we don't know when our time is up. But like your sister, she's still living her legacy. You're still living her legacy of kindness that, you know, that we need more of. So that's what I love about this, because we're celebrating the people, even though they're not here, but we can still bring their message like your sister. So the world needs more kindness. What was her name?
Maileen.
Maileen said, we need kindness.
Yes, and you said it, you know, and I learned that when she planted all these seeds, you know, and I became, in when I practiced that, and people say, wow, you touch me in a way, I say, it's here. So I learned to see my pain, her death, totally different. I accept the fact that physically, yes, she's not here, but she's in me every day. And by me practicing with no fear who I became through her journey with me, I think, you know, I want to mention this because it was important to me. You know, she was blind and she died. She died at 28, very young. But she was not blind when that day she died. She was able to see.
Really?
Yeah, when I talked to my other sister.
Oh my God. She was blind her whole life, you said? And then she was
blind. Yeah, she was blind. And that day she was singing, you know, she was, you know, happy, and she was able to see because she told my other sister, look, you look beautiful. Your nail polish red is beautiful. So she was, you know, she was able to do something that she struggled all her life. And I say this because that taught me that she was okay in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was okay. Maybe I was selfish because I wanted it with me. And I wanted it with me every day. Her body was tired. And you know, when I become selfish, you're mine and your love, and I want you here with me, and why you? Wait a minute. She was in her perfect moment when this happened.
Yeah. I love it.
I pause and I say, you know what? She was okay at that moment. She was not suffering anymore. And I had to release as a gift to her. Be then happy and embrace it with no pain. I had to learn to release it and accept that she's okay.
Wow. And it took you 8
being here, she's okay. You know what I mean?
So yeah. Oh yeah, I get that. Not being here. My mom always said you should be scared of the living. You mentioned so many things, Liz, that
But why is important? 17 years, look, a divorce after 24 years of marriage, 2 times cancer, right? My kids, they grew up with me and knowing my sister through me. But remember, the first 7 years of your life are the most important. I have to really now, after 17 years, is when they experience a happy mother. Yeah. When they experience me, you know?
Yeah. And that's what the point that I'm bringing up. And this is a hard one for some people because it is selfish, right? And we've all have experienced a death in our life, right? Some were, closer than others. But what happens is that patients and families, you're right, we become selfish. A lot of the times I've watched people in just severe pain and families are like, no, they're going to stay alive. We're going to do them because they want, and I get that. We don't want the physical body to go. But when we do have somebody that is sick, right? That's not a traumatic death, but when they are sick and then you see them go and they go and we become selfish, right? So for 17, 18 years, I don't want to use the word selfish, but you became disconnected because you were mad because your sister was dead. That basically. So for 17 years, your children, your husband, all those people knew a different person that was angry and mad over death. And nobody listened to you. Nobody there to support you. So you had cancer twice. You had disconnected relationships. And that's why grief became an ICD-9 code, right? That's why it's under the mental health, because it's not just sadness. It affects people when somebody that you love is ripped from you like that. And that's why we need the help, the support. And that's a big thing. It's a big thing for people to look at, right? Not only myself, because I was that mother. I was always like, I have to clean the bathroom. I have to do this. I have to. Come on, boys. We gotta go. And I'm like, where are we going? Like, what are we doing? And now, right, I'm like, I'm more peaceful. Like, all right, boys, it's different, but it doesn't have to be like that. And that's why GLAD was created, right? To call, to talk, because we don't want you stuck in 17 years of grief, because you can die tomorrow.
Exactly. And that's why this work is very important.
It's very
stay there 17 years. You may decide to stay there for a while. But let's realize, once again, the ripple effect. Yeah. Let's do the work to realize the ripple effect. And for us to understand by accepting, and that's where the growth will come. Yes.
Accepting and the growth comes. I love this, Liz. It's a powerful message that it's hidden things that we're running on autopilot that we're not even aware of from all of these deaths. So, just encouragement for our listeners. What do you have for any encouragement for our listeners?
Well, I believe that is very important, and I know could be intimidated and fearful to step into an arena where you don't know people, but it's needed. It is needed for you, for your health, and for the way that you're living your life, not only now, but for the near future. If you project your future with very close relationship with your kids, you need to do this work. If you want to be and feel healthy with no consequences of any, illnesses that can appear later on, I invite you to come. I invite you to kind of see it differently. See the opportunity to grow through accepting that it's not like, it's going to go. No, I'm going to embrace it differently. Para la comunidad latina, entiendo que nos criaron, no digas nada, cállate, eres dura, eres fuerte, mamá te crió, sí, pero no, muchachos. Es una gran mentira porque no lo podemos hacer solos. We cannot do this on our own. We need help. And GLAD is here to serve in that area. GLAD está aquí para servirnos de esa manera, porque solos, muchachos, no lo podemos hacer. Yo te invito a que te abras, a que puedas ver y pensar de otra manera de cómo lidiar con tu dolor, pero acompañada y acompañado. Y saber que puedes vivir con ello de una manera diferente. Porque recuerda que los que están contigo también sufren. You have to remember that we're living our pain, but the people that are with us are living them too. It's not only us, it's everybody else in our circle. I invite you to open up in a different way where you can say, I'm going to learn to deal with this. And I'm going to grow not only for me, but for the people that I love. And I'm going to embrace this persona with everything I have. So I invite you to look GLAD as the pathway, the journey that we're doing it together.
This episode of Grieve with Christa is brought to you by GLAD, a community dedicated to supporting grief walkers with connection, tools, and truth. Because grief isn't something to fix, it's something to honor. For more information on GLAD, click the link in the video description.